Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with a Lulu complete guide. Now I know this one is also going to be a little bit surprising because as you guys know I'm obviously an ADC main, and I did mention in my Nautilus complete guide that when I get autofilled support I do enjoy playing engagers like Nautilus, Rakan, Pike, etc. So why am I playing Lulu? Well, simply said, the team comp that I was with and against was simply just too good of a Lulu comp to pass up. Like I had a Vayne to buff and I had like a Samira to polymorph, etc. So I really thought Lulu was going to be really good in that match, and it was. And we did really well, which is why this video is even here. So Lulu, in my opinion, is currently one of the top 3 supports, the other 2 being Karma and Nami, so we are sort of in an enchanter meta in the current moment. But Lulu is really strong in the sense that she can make one champion like really strong with all of her buffs and shields, etc. And she also can peel using like her polymorph and her ultimate. So really Lulu can basically just make that one champion unkillable if you play her correctly, of course. So that's why I really enjoy playing with a Lulu as an ADC, because generally that champion is going to be me that Lulu is buffing. But yeah, Lulu is really strong, really good at buffing either her ADC or some other carry, like for example Olaf in the jungle, a Master Yi in the jungle, that sort of deal. So obviously this is the first time we've done the Lulu complete guide, so without further ado, let's actually jump into the skills and the leveling order. Okay, so now we're in the practice tool. So for the skills and the leveling order, you first want to start off with, honestly you could start off with multiple abilities, kind of depends on the match. Generally you start with either Q or E. Q, you can get it at level 1 to actually poke enemies out, but you can do the same with E, and E doesn't really need aiming. So most of the time I will take E level 1 because you can poke with on enemies with E, and you can also shield allies, so it has a dual purpose. Same thing goes with level 2, you want another form of poke, you take Q, if not you can take W. Most of the time I think Q is the more common one. Then you of course take W at level 3, you max E first, and then you move on to maxing W, so you max Q last. Now of course this is because Lulu is an enchanter who is focused on, of course, healing and shielding her allies, not focused on doing damage with her Q. So let's head over to our favorite spot over on in the river to kind of explain how Lulu works. Okay, so first up we're going to explain how her passive works. So her passive is this little pixie called Pix, I guess. So basically when you attack, Pix will attack as well. If you guys can see here, that like little thing that looks like a butterfly is also attacking. Now the thing about Pix is that you can attach her to allies or enemies. So when you attach to enemies like this, as you can see, it's attached to that target dummy. It grants true sight of them, so you can see them even when they're inside a bush. So for example, if I put an enemy dummy here and I use my, obviously I can't see him if I'm out of the bush, but when I'm in the bush and I use my E on him, I can of course see him because Pix is attached. Now I can also attach it to an ally, and when I attach it to an ally, Pix will of course attack using the attack speed of that ally. So if you attach it on someone with really high attack speed, let's say a Jinx or a Vayne, Pix is gonna do a lot more damage output with that champion, which is why you do want to attach it to, you know, an ally champion. So next up we have her Q. So basically her Q, as you guys can see, Lulu shoots at 1 and Pix shoots at 1. So you can choose the like exact meeting point of the two, which should be where the enemy is on, like this. So basically all it does is it does a little bit of damage and it slows down the enemy slightly. Now what you want to do note is that you will shoot Pix. Pix will shoot from where he's at. So for example, if I put this down, Pix will be over there. So you know, I will shoot from over there, or if it's attached to my ally like this, it will shoot from the ally like you guys just saw. So maybe let me show that again. Let me put Pix on the ground. So for example, if I put Pix on the ground here, he was gonna shoot from there, as you guys can see from the target indicator. Whereas if I put picks on, even on an enemy actually. So if I put a picks onto an enemy like that, it also shoots from an enemy or an ally. So that's basically how it works. So Lulu's W has two uses. First is when you put it on an ally, second is when you put it on an enemy. So when you put it on an ally, you give the ally bonus movement speed and attack speed. Now of course I can't show you that because it's a target dummy. However, I'm going to use it on myself because I of course also count as an ally. So if I use it on myself, you guys can see I get bonus attack speed and bonus movement speed like so. And when you use it on an enemy, you're going to polymorph them for a second, and you'll also apply a slow onto them and reveal them. So here it's a 1 second polymorph. Basically when you're polymorph, it's basically equivalent to like a stun where you can't actually use your abilities and auto attacks, however you can still move. So it's sort of a little bit different in that sense. Now, if you use the polymorph when an ally and an enemy is on top of each other. So for example, in this indicator, I hit both an ally and an enemy. It will prioritize polymorphing the enemy and not buffing the ally. This is of course because the game expects that, for example, if an enemy Rengar has jumped onto your ADC, you want to polymorph the Rengar and not necessarily buff your ADC. Now this may not always be true, but this is how Lulu's mechanic works in Wild Rift. So you unfortunately cannot point and click and select who you want to cast it on. However, what you can do that you can't do in PC is you can actually just put it down and create a zone using this, and the next ally or enemy who walks through gets the respective buff or debuff. So you can actually use this to sort of like zone choke points, for example like this. So enemies can't walk through here, and if not they will get polymorphed. So that is something you can do in Wild Rift that you can't do in PC. So next up we have her E. So what her E does is basically if you cast it on enemies, it just goes to the enemy, goes to the enemy and does a little bit of damage as well as reveals them. If you cast it on an ally, it attaches picks to the ally and gives the ally a shield. Now because this target dummy has a lot of health, you can't really see the shield. Let me cast it on myself. You can see that we gain a shield like so. So lastly we have her ultimate, which basically, as you guys can see, when you cast it on the area around you, enemies will get knocked up, allies will basically become bigger and gain 250 health, as well as causing a slow to nearby enemies. So let's cast it on the dummy and see what happens. Boom, you guys can see both the enemy dummies were knocked up, and obviously you can see that they're slowed based on that flower thingy at the base of where they are. Here it is again, and obviously this will cause your ally to grow bigger, like you guys see here. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for what Lulu does. So now with that out of the way, we can actually jump into discussing Lulu's items, runes, and spells. Okay, so here we go for Lulu's items first. Now obviously at level 1 you want to start off with your support item. Now as to which support item you want to go, honestly you do have a choice between going for Spectral Sickle and going for Relic Shield. Of course Relic Shield is going to be a lot safer, you can sit back and farm the minions, whereas Spectral Sickle you actually have to be more proactive to poke with your E and your Q to proc the Spectral Sickle. Now I think that this is firstly, number one, a personal preference, and number two, it's also match dependent. Like in some matches you can't take Spectral Sickle because imagine if you're against like a Nautilus Draven, you will never be able to go up and poke, so that's when you take Relic Shield. But in some matches you can, so it sort of really depends on what matchup you're in. So of course, first supportive item we're going to build is of course going to be the Ardent Sensor. The Ardent Sensor of course gives you health, AP, and ability haste. Gives you a little bit of movement speed, and of course gives you the main reason you're building it is when you heal or shield an ally, both people gain extra attack speed, and also your attacks deal bonus magic damage for 6 seconds. So of course Lulu does have a shield on her E, so that's the main way she procs Ardent Sensor, and generally you're going to be supporting an ADC, so Ardent Sensor as a first item is really good. Then we go on to a boot enchant. So normally you always get Ionian Boots of Lucidity, which is of course this one to give you ability haste. Now for the enchant you do have quite a number of options. If you're into heavy magic damage teams, which do happen from time to time, Locket is the way to go. Redemption is generally the best choice because Redemption is going to be a quite fast AoE heal for your whole team. And Aside from that, Veil Enchant could be useful in certain matchups where the enemy team has a lot of CC and you have like a hyper carry who needs that CC immunity. And technically Protect Enchant also works, but Lulu's Protect Enchant really only works with her E, so it's not really the best in the world for Lulu. So next up, we go for Staff of Flowing Water. So Staff of Flowing Water of course gives you ability power, mana, ability haste, and of course when you heal or shield an ally, both people get 15 ability haste and also bonus ability power. Now of course not every ally is going to benefit from bonus ability power, but the ability haste and the stat line in general makes this a worth item. It's the general 2 item enchanter combo. Then we go into an Imperial Mandate, which of course gives you health, AP, and ability haste. And of course the passive, when you slow or immobilize champions, you will deal some magic damage and it marks them. When your allies hit marked champions, they detonate the mark to deal bonus magic damage again, and both people get bonus movement speed. So of course Lulu does have quite a number of ways to proc this. She can proc it with her polymorph, she can proc it with her ultimate knockout, she can proc it with her Q, so quite many ways you can apply the Imperial Mandate. Now for your last item, you have a lot of flexibility. You can of course go for something like Harmonic Echo, which of course does allow you to heal multiple allies at one go. However, you also have other options. For example, simply going for a Rabadon's Death Cap, like that, just for more AP, which AP of course is going to increase your healing and shielding because they all scale off of your AP. And you can also go for Grievous Wounds using the Morellonomicon if you're in a matchup that needs Grievous Wounds. And finally, the last item option you have, if I can actually find it, where did it go? Oh wait, never mind. I think that Morello's was the last item option that I actually already added into the build, but I just didn't actually talk about it. As in, I thought that I had not added into the build, but I actually did. So, oops, that was yeah, that was kind of embarrassing, but yeah, that would be your last item option. So, anyways, now we can talk about the runes and the spells itself. So for the runes, what I like to go for is Airy. Now Airy of course increases your shielding on allies and increases your poke on enemies, which is basically the two things that Lulu does basically. So that is sort of why I take that. Now the other option you can also go for is Font of Life, but personally I think Font of Life is a really bad rune that no one really takes because it's pretty weak of a rune. So I don't think it's a really good option, but it is an option nonetheless. So for the Domination tree, I like actually taking Weakness because you do have a lot of ways to slow or CC enemies. So I think that that's pretty much the best rune you can take over in Domination. Next up, I like to take Bone Plating for just survivability in general because, of course, when you're buffing your allies, you sometimes have to put yourself in the danger area. And, of course, the protection from Bone Plating is going to help you out to negate some of the enemy's damage. And finally, for our Inspiration rune, I actually like taking Mana Full Band because Lulu does use a lot of mana when she spams her like a spell, so this is going to help you with the mana sustain, and that is pretty much it for the runes. For the spells, you're going to go for Flash, and generally you're going to go for Heal because of course Heal is the default support spell a lot of the times, and this will help you of course heal your ADC. But aside from that, if your ADC doesn't have Exhaust, you should take Exhaust. And if you're in like a kill lane and you want to kill people early game, then of course it's going to be Ignite. But generally, Heal is going to be your default option. Alright, so there we have it. Now we can move on to talking about the gameplay. Okay, now moving on to the Lulu gameplay. So of course, as usual for updated complete guides, don't forget to of course like, comment, and subscribe, and any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Okay, so first up, full disclosure right from the beginning of the video. Of course, support is not my main role. In fact, it's my third choice on position preferences, and when I get support, I always play tank engage. I haven't played an enchanter support in like a year or so because I don't really enjoy enchanters, but you know, I was feeling a little bit lazy. Like, enchanters are way easier to play than engagers, because of course engagers like this Blitzcrank, you have to actively look for an engage like this. Here I get hooked in, but honestly at level 1 doesn't really matter. I have my E, so I just use it on myself for the shield and I just walk out. Important thing here is that if you made a mistake and get hooked, if you're not in danger of dying, don't blow your flash or your heal, because that basically means the enemies will get important cooldowns out of you, you know, and you'll be at a disadvantage. Now here I lose half of my health, but it's still not as bad as losing my flash and or my heal. So the important thing is to not panic and just walk it out. Of course, if you're getting hooked under the tower, under the enemy tower, of course you gotta flash out, you gotta heal, you gotta run, etc. But you know, don't do that if you're not in, you know, danger of dying. Alright, so anyways, back to what I was saying, which is, you know, the fact that this match is really good for Lulu, and, you know, I was also feeling a bit lazy to play a tank engager. And yeah, so here Warwick comes in, Blitzcrank whiffs the hook, thankfully, because if he hit that on either of us, probably we would have either died or had to blow a lot of subs. So anyways, this match is amazing for Lulu, because we have Fiora, Kayn, and Vayne, all really good targets to actually buff for Lulu. Now here, I do take a lot of damage, but Kayn is in the area, so we do manage to bait them successfully into a fight where we do end up killing the Blitzcrank, and the Samira has to blow both of her sums to escape. Now of course, me and Vayne both don't have any summoner spells either, so basically this lane has no summoner spells at all aside from Blitzcrank's Ignite. So it's really kind of an exciting laning phase thus far. Of course, I'm playing against a Blitzcrank, but I did take the Spectral Sickle because I was pretty confident in poking him. But of course, as you guys can see, I do have the fully stacked Spectral Sickle quite often, because you can't literally just walk up and, you know, just poke people down, because of course you're going to be at risk of getting hooked by Blitzcrank. So here that Blitzcrank is alone. Here I'm just harassing him because there's nothing much he can really do against that. Even if he hooks me, so what? Nothing's going to happen. Samira is not around. He definitely can kill me on his own, and I will still out-trade his damage. So here, there I just get a little bit of free damage in onto him. So also another reason why I picked Lulu, as I alluded to, is also because there is a lot of good people to polymorph on the enemy team. So Warwick, when he ults someone, can be polymorphed to actually interrupt his ultimate. Samira, when she ults, can be polymorphed to cancel her ultimate. Now, I didn't actually know this before this match, but I thought that you could actually polymorph Kennen within his ultimate, but actually turns out you can't. So you can polymorph Kennen when he's ulting, but it doesn't cancel his ultimate. So that's kind of a little bit unfortunate. So a little bit less value from the Lulu pick there, but yeah. So here, anyways, Blitzcrank walked up for some reason. So here I'm taking opportunity to proc my Spectral Sickle. At the same time, as you guys can see, I buffed Vayne using both my E and my W to allow her to, of course, kite around the fight easier, as well as giving her the shield, because obviously she is the one getting focused. Mostly you shouldn't self-cast your spells unless you are in big danger. Here Warwick ults me, and I actually ult to get a triple knockup as well as to dissuade them. Unfortunately though, Vayne gets hooked, and I try to shield her, but unfortunately it does not work. Now here I slow the Blitzcrank, and Blitzcrank for some reason chooses to continue walking toward me instead of out of the tower. I think he probably would have survived if he just tried to walk out, but he tried to walk towards me for some reason, and he just died. So hey, you know, I'll take a free kill any day of the week. So we do get that kill onto Blitzcrank. So here, without Vayne around, all we want to do is try to hold the wave to let Vayne come back and pick up the CS, which is exactly what we do. Now here I randomly suspect Samira is inside that bush, so I actually launched my spells inside. I think that I actually did interrupt her recall, but you know, I until now, because I'm seeing the replay with Fog of War, I can never really be sure if I actually hit her, but I do think that I did. Anyways, now with Vayne back in the lane, she can pick up CS, whereas I can actually back to restore my health and also pick up the Aether Wisp. Of course, almost getting towards the Ardent Sensor already. Ardent Sensor is going to be really useful for Vayne in particular, but also for Fiora and Kayn could come in somewhat handy. And yeah, so here, of course, Dragon and Herald is now alive, so this is where, you know, fights are likely to occur. We can already see Samira going toward the Dragon area. So here I'm auto-attacking the minions because we got to push out, and we got to push out in a jiffy. Vayne has pretty poor wave clear, so she does need the help of the support to actually clear up the wave. Unfortunately though, Warwick already instantly takes the dragon because we were really late to the dragon, and Morgana, who rotated as we were rotating, pretty much just gets caught. Here Samira actually gets caught, but she has her ultimate, so I flash forward to polymorph her to cancel her ultimate. In hindsight, I don't think I needed to flash because I don't think Samira had enough damage to kill Vayne anyways, but I was afraid that she did, so I just played safe and flash forward to polymorph her to prevent her from continuing on in her ultimate. Anyways, here Echo is in to defend, but he can't really do very much. We already forced him to ult, and if he continues, he's going to die to the two of us. So yeah, here all I'm doing is just buffing Vayne with my W and my E. Now, something to take note of with your W and E that I didn't actually mention previously is you don't want to use it willy-nilly, because your W and your E is the main thing that makes Lulu strong. Without W and E, if you only have like Q, you're not really useful in the laning phase at all, because Lulu's value is mostly tied to her W, E, and ultimate. So if you blow your W and E like randomly on your ADC, the enemies have a brief like 3 seconds or so where your W and E is on cooldown and your ADC doesn't have the buff of your W and your E, and they can hard engage on you and you cannot really do anything because you don't have your polymorph, you don't have your shield, and you'll basically just get destroyed by the enemies essentially. So here Kayn comes in for a gank. Samira is really low, but she does have ultimate. Thankfully she doesn't actually do too much damage with her ultimate and she does end up dying. Unfortunately though, Warwick has come in. Here I tried to ult the Kayn to help him survive, but unfortunately he can't survive. And as a result, now I'm getting chased down by Warwick and Blitzcrank, which is a big problem. Here I try to run downwards because Warwick is cutting off my escape, but I end up running into the Echo, and Warwick ends up picking up a triple kill and going unstoppable, unfortunately. So not really the best chain of events there. But obviously as an Enchanter support, you pretty much have the option of either just running away and leaving your teammates high and dry, or you could, of course, stay and try to help your teammates, but then put yourself at risk of dying yourself. So obviously I chose the latter, and my teammates both died, and then obviously then I will become the focus, and then I died too, so that's kind of really unfortunate. My other option was to just leave the Kayn be and just try to escape. So here, important thing, in as support, you don't just blindly autopilot back to your lane. Here I see a fight happening in mid, and here as you guys can see, I'm trying to help out the Morgana. I wait for her to come out of stasis and I heal her instantly to help her to survive. And here Kayn is coming, running away. He is terrified. And here we are able to get both of our teammates out safely. Blitzcrank also runs into the polymorph for some reason that I placed on the ground. But yeah, it basically works out. So here we didn't actually kill anybody, but of course without me here, I think likely is that Kayn and or Morgana would have died. So I think that we did play a very crucial role in this exchange. Vayne has also rotated down here for some reason. I'm not quite sure what she's trying to accomplish. Nothing too much to do here. Now we still have the 3 stacks of the Spectral Sickle, so of course we are trying to proc it if we can. So here, of course Vayne has already gotten the tower in top lane and the wave is of course pushing in. Now here I was trying to walk around the skull vision, but obviously doing that does not actually work. So obviously the enemies did of course see me there. But here we are trying to help out our man Kayn, but he just goes in and gets destroyed. And as a result, I get chain CC'd and I get destroyed before I can even use my ultimate. I was mashing the ultimate there, but I just got chain CC'd to the point that I can't use it. And Vayne goes down as well. So it's kind of a disaster for what's happening at the moment. All 3 of us died for pretty much no good reason, and pretty much just gives the enemy team a free herald if they do choose to go and take it.
Top turret is under attack.
Right, so as we can see here, the enemies are both on the Herald. Fiora and Morgana are sort of trying to contest, whereas the rest of us has pretty much just given up on the Herald at this point. I'm just following the Kayn. Dragon is of course going to be spawning really soon, so we are of course trying to just get ready for the dragon. A huge fight kind of breaks out in the bottom lane, but honestly, I'm on the opposite side of the map at the moment. There's not a lot I can do about that. So here I'm trying to help out the Kayn. Since I put both buffs onto the Kayn. Kayn goes into his ultimate, so I can ult him, but now that he's out, I ult him again. So basically, I make it such that he can't die, and I think he honestly should have died in that scenario, but because of Lulu's buffs, Kayn was able to, of course, survive. Now, unfortunately, we have a Herald trying to barrel down onto our tower, and I can't stop the Herald, of course, because I don't really even do any damage. Even if I did, I don't quite think that I would have stopped that Herald, not without hitting the eye. Anyways, Dragon is up, so obviously this is going to be a point of contention for both teams. Here, we're trying to first secure the Skull Vision. Kayn smites the Skull, which means that his smite is going to be on cooldown for a little bit, at the minimum, if he has 2 charges. Here, I find myself in a 1v1 against Cannon, which obviously I don't win any 1v1s. But I'm just trying to get his cooldowns out. Of course, Cannon doesn't actually ult me one person, so it doesn't quite matter in the end. So here, I end up polymorphing the Blitzcrank to prevent him from CCing my team, and Cannon does die as well. So here, Samira comes in with the ultimate, and unfortunately is able to pick up some kills. I'm able to shield myself to actually survive the fight, and eventually I do die to Echo's Time Winder, but Vayne can just run him down. And as you guys can see here, Vayne picks up the kill. Echo simply just gave up. I mean, to be fair, Vayne did have her ultimate, which meant that she could easily chase down the Echo. Echo wouldn't be able to escape anyways. But the enemy team do secure the dragon, so we're 2 dragons down at this point, which is pretty dire of a situation. But this is a very even match. If we take a look, both teams have taken 1 tower. Both teams are at almost the same goal. Now that Fiora has gotten the tower, we now have a slight 400 gold advantage, which is basically nothing. Like a 400 gold or less than 1000 gold difference between the 2 teams basically means nothing. So both teams are very, very even. This is a very, very competitive match, which is obviously the most fun kind of matches. So here, if we take a look at what items I have at the moment, I've already completed the Redemption and the Staff of Flowing Water, as well as having the fully evolved Spectral Sickle, and I also have the Redemption. So here I get the polymorph onto the cannon to prevent him from escaping. Unfortunately, I accidentally take the kill. Of course, especially when you're playing support, you never really want to take the kill, unless maybe you're playing like a Senna or Brand, like some kind of carry support. If you're playing a generic like Enchanter or a generic tank support, you never want to take kills, because goal is always going to be better on the other members of your team than you. So you should always avoid taking kills if you can. Here I spot a huge push from Blitzcrank and Samira coming down on the top lane. So here I'm trying to recall to help out to defend against that. But turns out that my whole team is literally already doing that before me, which is of course a good thing. But looks like Samira and Blitzcrank are going to be found in trouble. Blitzcrank does die, and Samira did manage to actually scamper off. But Kayn is actually on the chase for that low HP Samira all the way into her jungle, which I don't think is very recommended, because we don't really have vision of the rest of the enemy team. But he actually does manage to catch up to the Samira, and he does manage to actually pick up the kill. So I guess that's all well and good. He's getting chased down by Warwick, but of course here our whole team can actually rotate to back him up if needed. Warwick doesn't really go in, but instead we go in on him. So here I flash forward to get the polymorph onto the Warwick to ensure that he cannot escape. That's a very crucial pick, because as you guys can see here, that allows us to ping to go for Baron as I'm pinging, which is why I committed the flash to make sure that the Warwick is dead, because with the Samira, Warwick, and Blitzcrank dead, it's gonna be a pretty easy Baron. Now, of course, at this point, Samira and Blitzcrank have just respawned or is about to respawn. So here we're gonna have a little bit of trouble at the Baron pit, because this is actually becoming contested, and Warwick is coming back in 10 seconds, so we have to try to burst down this Baron as quickly as possible. And we do manage to get the Echo down, but unfortunately we get hit by a huge Cannon ultimate, and then a Samira ultimate as well. Thankfully Samira does die to Vayne, and Vayne ends up actually finishing off the Baron, as you guys can see here, but she does die after that. So now the bad news here is that our whole team died and Cannon got a quadra kill. The good news is that we took down the Baron and ensured the enemies didn't get it. So it became from a situation where we wanted to get the Baron for ourselves to a situation where, oh no, we're caught in a fight that we can't win. So we have to get the Baron so that the enemies don't get it, which we did. So we got the Baron, but all 5 of us died. So basically there's no more Baron buffs on the map, and there's no more Baron on the map as well. So on the side of the enemy team, a really good response from them, and Cannon with that huge ultimate and getting that quadra kill is huge because Cannon needs to be far ahead to actually do significant damage. So now he already has Rift Maker and Death Cap, and with that quadra kill, he can pick up even more items, maybe go into an Oblivion Orb or something like that, and will be in even more trouble because his ultimate is gonna hurt that much more. So here, the final elemental dragon is going to be spawning in about 35 seconds or so, and we have to contest this one because if not, we'll give the enemy team triple dragon, which is going to be really bad. Enemy team at this point has about 700 gold lead against us, which again is really negligible, but just to highlight how even this game is. So on the side lane, Vayne and Kayn, I believe, managed just to get a pick onto Echo. In the meantime, Cannon goes in with the ultimate onto Morgana, which I think is actually not really the best decision because Morgana really isn't that valuable of a target. She's 1, 3, and 8 at that point in time, so I don't know why you commit a Cannon ultimate onto Morgana when they're, number 1, a lot more important targets, and number 2, there's going to be an upcoming dragon team fight. So here, we find Warwick on the dragon alone because his whole team actually turned for the fight onto Kayn. And it becomes a split fight where me and Fiora are going onto Warwick in the top side of the fight. And here I'm just buffing up Fiora and making sure she can kill Warwick. Whereas there's another fight toward the bottom side, which my team I think is winning. I think Samira did die from the bottom side of the fight, and this should mean that we can pick up the dragon because Warwick is dead, and Kayn should be able to secure the dragon with Smite. Blitzcrank tries to hook into the pit, but doesn't really hit anything, and instead now we are on the chase for them. So here we're just going to clear out the mid lane. Now unfortunately the enemy team turns around and actually ends up going for a fight on us. Fiora does manage to pick up a kill, and here I'm just going to be buffing up the Vayne to ensure she can chase down whoever she needs to and kill whoever she needs to, like so. So we are able to eventually get a clean ace against the enemy team, and this allows us to push down a couple of turrets. Obviously, we had that failed Baron attempt at that point, and because of that, Baron has not respawned, so we can't really go for Baron or anything like that. But at least we did secure the dragon, which did of course allow us to prevent the triple dragon from the enemy team. Now, also very important to note is in that fight, I think none of us died and we got killed on the whole enemy team, which actually swung the goal lead 4k in our favor from like basically being an even match. So that's why sometimes one huge team fight can change the complexity of an entire match. Now here I pick up the Imperial Mandate, and I also pick up the Oblivion Orb. Now Oblivion Orb of course is going to be huge against like Warwick and Samira, who have a lot of healing. Probably should have picked it up sooner, but hey, better late than never. So here we're simply just doing the Baron because we literally don't see the enemy team. And this of course could be a mistake again if Cannon manages to ult in, but Vayne condemns the Cannon away into the wall, so Cannon isn't actually able to ult in, and Blitzcrank gets caught. Here the hook comes in onto the Warwick, and Warwick is also in trouble. Or not the hook, I should say. Warwick throws himself in, and Warwick basically ends his life away, so there goes Warwick as well. So 2 quick kills onto the enemy team, and with the Baron we can use the Baron buff to push into their base, and only 3 enemies are left. This is a possible end angle. Of course we do have the Cannon flying in to our whole team, but he gets blown up instantly. Echo gets blown up as well, and basically at this point the game is won. Samira tries ulting our entire team, doesn't quite work out, and here we have the victory. So anyways, I'm going to be leaving you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.